2-0 pitch. Misses down low. Throw down to first base, and Rosario has done it again. Melorio strayed a little too far off of the bag, and Mel Rosario fires a strike down to first base. This is getting to be almost routine. Just about every night now, we are seeing Mel Rosario gun somebody off of the bases. Not only first base, but second base. 0-2 pitch from Baker. Swing and a miss. Throw down to first base by Rosario, and he's done it again. Mel Rosario, this is a nightly thing now. He throws out another runner, picks him off the base. 0-1 pitch. Fastball misses up high. Throw down to first base, and they got him. Mel Rosario does it again. Catches another runner off base. He is fun to watch. We were talking on the Saturday Rocks with Ed Noddle show to Ed about Mel Rosario, why he's here and not playing Major League ball or AAA ball. And Ed said he thinks that he could be playing somewhere. It's just a matter of there are so few jobs. Sometimes you get caught up in a numbers game. You got a workhorse of a catcher. Show what he's made of when he caught 3 consecutive games in that grueling heat up in Quebec. A guy who is a switch hitter, a veteran catcher who has just worked wonders with his young staff. Mel Rosario, he has just been going bonkers.
Mel Rosario worked his way all the way to the major leagues in 1997. He played 4 games with the Baltimore Orioles, and that was it for his big league career. 4 games, and he never got another shot. Here he was in 2002 playing independent baseball in the Northern League, showing off the best skills of any catcher in the league, and better than many major league catchers, in my opinion. I mean, he had a great arm, a quick release, accurate arm, and catcher is the one position in the major leagues where you can make it on your defensive skills and have your offense be just kind of a bonus. And Mel was more than adequate with his bat, plus he was a switch hitter, which was a valuable commodity, but Major League Baseball just ignored him. It just made no sense to me. I could not figure that out, but the Rocks were fortunate to have him. Brockton's other Rosario, Carlos, had missed the trip to Quebec, but the Rocks still managed to sweep the first-place Capitals. Despite leading the league in stolen bases, being very near the top in batting and runs scored, Carlos's defense was very spotty, and he made some really bad decisions on the base paths, so now Ed Noddle and Van Schley were considering their options. That was put on the back burner, though, when pitcher Mike Fisher, after finally earning his first win of the season, told the Rocks that he was retiring so he could help his wife with their newborn baby. The priority now was finding a starter for the top of the rotation. After the Quebec road trip, we learned that legendary Boston Red Sox star Ted Williams had passed away. With so many Red Sox fans at Brockton, I knew the Rocks had to pay tribute in some form or fashion. Now, there's a .404 distance marker on the center field wall at Campanelli Stadium. I suggested to General Manager Dave Eccles that we move the marker over a couple feet, change it to .406, which was Ted's batting average in 1941, the last time anyone batted over .400 in the major leagues. Dave was kind of non-committal. He called over artist Andy Nelson, who was tight with the ownership group. In typical Eccles fashion, he said to Andy, "Oh, Blucher here has an idea." Yeah, real funny. He told him, and Andy said, "Hey, I like it." And suddenly Dave liked the idea too. Go figure. I had 2 other suggestions. One was to give Ed Noddle a mic before the game so he could tell the crowd his story of how he'd lined up Ted Williams to be his batting coach if he'd been named Red Sox manager, which he very nearly had been, and they liked that idea too. I also offered to do a brief on-camera video bit for the scoreboard of my memories of interviewing Ted Williams. The kid who ran the scoreboard video just kind of grinned and nodded and looked at me as if to say, yeah, buddy, like you really got something interesting to say. Well, since they blew me off on that, I saved that story for my radio listeners.
I had a chance to meet Ted Williams back in the early 1980s. He was at a baseball banquet down in Florida. I was just a young reporter, hair down to my shoulders. That's long gone. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Marcasano. Swung on and fouled out of play on the right side. The count is now 1-2. Went back not too long ago and listened to that tape. And Ted Williams was a very patient guy. The questions I asked weren't rude or anything, but, you know, I was just a young kid. And there wasn't a whole lot of insight to the questions I was asking. And yet Ted Williams was patient enough and kind enough to field all the questions that I asked him. And gave me a lot of interesting answers. Here's the 1-2 pitch, off-speed pitch, foul ball, and the count remains 1-2. Asked him about losing all those years to the war, and if he ever thought about the kind of numbers that he would have put up. Basically what he said was, I can't think about those kind of things. I had a job to do. I went out and did it. And there's no way to look back at it other than I went out and did what I had in the country. No, I don't go back and look at it that way. Very blunt, honest answer. The 1-2 pitch, swung on and fouled back to the screen. The count remains 1-2. Asked him about an up-and-coming young player by the name of Wade Boggs. And I asked Ted Williams, do you think that Wade Boggs may be the next guy to hit 400? That was the only time I kind of got a rise out of Ted. He kind of bristled and said, well, Boggs is a good young ball player, but it's not easy to hit 400. And I don't think in my lifetime I'll ever be another 400 hitter. Pitch misses outside. As it turns out, Ted was right on with that remark as he passes away today. Nobody has hit 400 since he did. 2-2 the count to Jason Sartari, trying to do the thing that Ted Williams says is the toughest thing to do in sports, hit a baseball.
One of the tougher things for a play-by-play announcer is when a salesperson brings a client into the broadcast booth unannounced. Some of the salespeople would promise their clients that they could go on the air with me during a broadcast, and if that helped them close a deal, I was cool with that. All I asked was that they bring me a little background information ahead of time, so I wouldn't sound like such an idiot, and so we could keep things interesting for the listeners. Now, most of them were really good about that, except one guy who just kept bringing people in time after time without providing me any information. So he walks in again. He says he's got a guy with him, and I'm thinking, oh, great, another boring client to hype his product. And he says, guy's name's Lou Gorman. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I know that name. Former general manager of the Boston Red Sox, has a field named after him over at Stonehill College. Sure, send him in. Then as he's being seated, a little buzzer goes off in the back of my little brain. I was born in Baltimore, grew up a diehard Baltimore Orioles fan, and my greatest area of expertise at that time was the Baltimore Orioles history. Lou Gorman, I remembered, was in charge of the O's farm system way back in the 60s, so it didn't take long for us to go off on an Orioles discussion, which would have been great if our broadcast was in Baltimore instead of Brockton.
It was the most productive systems in baseball. And great managers in our minor league system. Just an exceptional system and exceptional organization.
They did something in that organization as the 0-1 pitch is being delivered and misses for ball one that they called the Oriole way. It was a way of doing things that were taught from the very lowest level of the minors all the way up. Is that something that they've gotten away from over there now?
Well, some organizations have done it very well. Dodgers have done it great. There's certain organizations. But the Orioles in those years, we established an Oriole system, and it was all the way through the entire organization. We would take and take Earl Weaver and sit him down with, and my minor league managers, when I ran the farm system, were Earl Weaver, Darrell Johnson, Joe Altobelli, Billy Gardner, Jim Fry, Cal Ripken Sr., George Bamberger. They all managed in the big leagues. Yeah. And we would establish a system that every single thing was taught the same way, from the major league club right down to the rookie level. We go over it play by play, circumstance, instruction by instruction, methodology by methodology, and we all did the same thing for the entire system.
So many people involved in baseball write baseball books, but not all of them have good stories to tell. And I can tell just from sitting here chatting to Lou over the past several innings. And he's going to have some good stories in there. It's going to be an interesting read.
Yes, my moment of self-indulgence. As for the Rox, they finished with a flurry, winning 7 of their last 9 games in the first half to finish above 500, 23 wins, 22 losses, 3rd place. Now the slates would be wiped clean for the second half, and no one could have predicted the nightmare that awaited them in Elmira and New Jersey. Be sure to click the subscribe button to follow my wild and wacky journey with the Brockton Rox, because more episodes are on the way. Thanks for watching.